What up, world? It's your boy JusRzd, and man, we got to talk about this today. You feel me? Today we're reviewing the newest episode of Bleach, the 1,000-Year Blood War. Whew, they was cooking. They was cooking. I got out of work early, and I was like, you know what? Give me some food and go ahead and watch this new episode. And boy, oh boy, was I locked in. I almost didn't eat my food. But man, shout out to the Dream Junkies. But if you know, you know. Bruh. This episode of Bleach. Fire. So, this episode starts off right where the last episode ended. It starts off with Captain Kurotsuchi pretty much basking in what he feels is his victory. Him and his Bankai, and then his Bankai starts to make like an agitated sound, and then you start seeing things pop from the inside out of him, and then it explodes. And as soon as it explodes, of course, Mayuri is looking super shocked. And when it explodes, we can essentially Shunsui, who's now the Captain Commander, and Urahara sense and feel. Really, all the captains can sense and feel the shift in spiritual pressure, and they're still running. The captain squad is still running from Lille Barro, who's picking them off one by one and sniping them. So of course they're sitting there. He's still aiming, and Shunsui is just like, they're running away. We got Shinji's like, all right, we got to keep running because we don't know where this dude's shooting from. And Shinsui's like, I feel you, but I feel like this is our moment to make our move. And so he turns around. Everybody's running. He turns around, and Shinji's like, yo, I just said we need to keep running. And immediately when he turns around, he gets shot. And as soon as he gets shot, you see Lille Barro just sitting there hearing a voice. And you see the voice is actually Shunsui hopping from one spot to another spot, pops up behind Lille Barro and almost stabs him, but he ends up cutting his gun instead. And so it was just interesting to see. It's always interesting to see Shunsui's abilities because they're so playful yet deadly at the same time. Like, he lives in the shadows, but he could pop up. But like, his ability and between his Bankai and just a Shikai is to make children's games come to life in a deadly way. And so it's just interesting to see him go through the whole explanation of his abilities and explain the rules. And Lily is sitting there like, why are you telling me all this? Now that you told me all this, I can easily defeat you. I'm not gonna lose. And Shinsui's just like, hey man, a true game don't start until everybody know the rules. And it was just funny to see both of their like shots at each other, like not physical shots, but like their verbal shots at each other. Just seeing their discourse and seeing them exchange words with one another. We see Shunsui pretty much kind of getting the best of Lily. At least that's what it seems like at first, with his abilities and stuff like that. And even though he explained the rules to him, he still kind of got Lily on his toes, until Lily finally officially opens his eye 3 times while dodging Shunsui. And once he opens it a 3rd time, he activates this ability to where now he can fight with both eyes open. And now that both of his eyes are open, he sees himself as unbeatable. And he explains that he's the first of the Shitstuffle he's the first Quincy ever to get powers from Bach, is what he said. So not even just of the Shitstuffle, but just the first Quincy period to get powers and stuff from Bach. So he has different abilities, I'm assuming, from everybody else. And man, the abilities, they They look super interesting. But what I will say is the whole time he's sitting there talking and just talking about how great he is and how powerful he is, Shunsui's just over there just throwing jab after jab, not physically but verbally. He's just throwing jab after jab. He's like, okay, you can open your eye, okay, you close it for me so this can go back to being an unfair fight. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to hurry up and wrap this up. Like, I got places to be and people to kill. So can you just hurry up and do that for your boy? And it was just funny to just see them just interacting like that. And man, to just see we see Shunsui trying to still get the better of him, but he ends up getting shot in multiple places since Lily has opened both eyes. And of course, he also transforms and unleashes his Vollständig, which transforms him into like this otherworldly type of being. And immediately it hits Shunsui in multiple spots, and he escapes after being hit, and just is like, yo, like, I can't even. He was just like I can't even die right. Like, this would have been so much easier and better if I'd have just died instantly. Like, I can't even die right, and I'm over here whining, and the now's not even over here to get me back on track. So he just kind of whips himself into shape real quick, and like verbally and mentally. And then we see him dodging more of Lily's attacks, and Lily's just super prideful at this point because he just feels like he's better than Shunsui. Even though they do have a little bit of information, what he keeps repeating is that they have information on everybody's fights and everybody's abilities, but none of the Soul Reapers have any information on the Shunsuffel's abilities. So it's just like all the Soul Reapers are at a disadvantage. However, as Shunsui is trying to make a great escape and trying to avoid Lily, Lily keeps popping up in front of him and blowing stuff up. He tries to do a keto attack, and that just didn't even leave a scratch, and he just disappeared from spot to spot. And eventually Shunsui ends up back where they actually entered the Royal Palace at, and he's like, man, I hope everybody else is out the way now from this location. And now, sorry I had to drag you into this, but now it's time for me to step it up. And he puts both swords in the ground, calls out Bankai. And once he does that, first of all, the whole playing field shifts, and the whole Royal Palace feels his Bankai. Like, everybody from Ichigo, not Aizen, Askin, Shinji, all the captains, Urahara, everybody feels the presence of his Bankai, and you could see it like take over the whole Royal Palace area, and it was incredible. And I liked what they did in this moment, but right before he calls out his Bankai, you see it switches. We started with Mayuri, then it switched to Shunsui and the captains, then it switched right before he calls out his Bankai while he's in hiding from Lily. It switches to Ichigo versus Askin, and we see Ichigo fighting Askin and just kind of trading blows. And we see that Askin realizes that the reishi poison isn't working on him, and he's like, "Oh, you must have went through some intense training with Osho." He's just like, "I mean, yeah, I did." He was like, "Oh, well, that would explain why the poison ain't working on you. So now I just got to alter it." And then right when he makes that declaration, that's when we see Shunsui activate his Bankai, and we see the whole place shift, and you can feel the spiritual pressure on each and every individual that notices it. And that's one thing I will say that I kind of miss about Bleach, because like early on when cats did their Bankai, or when they showed up on the scene and they had a lot of spiritual pressure, you felt it. Like, the way they illustrated it was like the deep lines, it was like a rumbling, and you could feel the spiritual pressure, so you knew like, oh snap, that ain't no joke. And I like that they brought it back here for this particular scene, because it's just like everybody felt it, and everybody was like, whoa, what is that? And of course the ones who knew was just like, is that Captain Shunsui? Like, is is he doing this? Like, is he is he the one doing this? And of course, Nanao's trying to make his way back to him. And then, of course, once he does Bankai, you see his Bankai activate. He pulls up on Lily. He was just like, how do you perceive this world that you're in right now? Is it dark and dreary? You know what I mean? And Lily was just kind of shook by it, because he was like, oh, so you're the one who's doing this, because it does look dark and dreary. And he tries to shoot he tries to shoot Shunsui, and Shunsui's just like, man. He reveals to him the first rule of his Bankai, and was just like, any damage inflicted upon the opponent is reflected upon the person who inflicted the damage. Even though you can't die from these wounds, you will suffer from these wounds. And so, of course, he shoots Kyoraku. I can't never say his proper name, right? So that's why I keep calling him Shunsui, because that's his first name. So Shunsui gets shot. And then it's reflected on Lily, and then he's just like, after this, the second rule is now you'll be infected by this disease, and you see the disease start traveling up Lily, and he just gives out each of the next few rules of his Bankai, and you just get to see him have a conversation. The whole time he's having a conversation with his sword while he's going through the rules. Lily's still freaking out and was like, yo, who are you talking to? And he's just like, chilling, talking to his sword. And it's just funny. He does this attack with this white thread that ends up slicing Lily's throat, and ends up kind of like blowing up his head, and Lily like falls into falls into an area where you can't see him anymore, because it's like extremely dark. It was like an area in between buildings. And so we see Shunsui just pretty much dominate the fight up until that point. And then he kind of rests in his sword's arms. Sword tries to pluck out his eyeball. He's like, whoa, chill out. They just kind of have like a friendly banter real quick. And it was just so dope to see all of that illustrated. First of all, Lily versus Shunsui is one of the dopest fights in the manga. So like to see all this illustrated, and he proclaims that this is the final act, and you see him take some of the damage that he just implemented on Lily, and he's just laying there, and he's just like, man, an occasional Bankai is worth it if I could just lay in your lap, and talking to his sword, and he's just sitting there, just kind of basking in what is perceived as his victory, and he begins to say, he begins to have a conversation with his sword, and in the midst of him about to announce something, it cuts away, and that's pretty much the end of the episode. And then the poem was read by a female character's voice, but I don't recognize the female character's voice, so I'm not sure who's gonna be the focus of next week, but I wouldn't be surprised if it shifts to a different fight. Just based off of the fact that they shifted away from Grimmjow, Ichigo, and Askin. They shifted away from that to go to Kurotsuchi versus Pernida, and then they shifted away from that at the start of this episode to go to Shunsui versus Lily, and then they shifted back to Ichigo versus Askin, and then they shifted back to Shunsui versus Lily. So I wouldn't be surprised if next episode starts picks up where we left off here with Shunsui and Lily, and then shifts to another fight. I actually kind of like the way that they're doing it. It's a lot better to me and a lot more smoother, and makes a lot more sense than the way My Hero did it. My Hero, the way they did it, and we're cutting away between the fights, was a little annoying. This one doesn't seem as annoying to me. Like it's a little bit more concise, and it feels like it makes more sense, because it's like all these fights are happening at the same time. So it's like we just felt what happened with Kurotsuchi. Now it's like, all right, man, he's in a fight, so now we need to make our move on this enemy and stop running from him. So Shunsui makes his move, and then we got Ichigo squaring up with Askin because they ran into their enemy first. And so it's just like all of this is happening all at the same time. So I like the way they're kind of pivoting. They're still giving us great fights and great context, but they're also pivoting to show you the different fights that are also happening at the same time that all this is going on. So I actually kind of like the way Bleach is doing it. But as far as this particular episode, as far as the rating, bro, I gotta give it a 10 out of 10, dog. I gotta give it a 10 out of 10 as a manga reader. As a manga reader and a person who's been waiting for these fights to be animated and this arc to be animated, bro, this was chef's kiss. This was fire, bro. Like, seeing Shunsui's Bankai, seeing him go through the different acts. Same thing with Yamamoto. When we saw Captain Yamamoto's different abilities for his Bankai, to see Shunsui's different abilities and to see how deadly it is, even though it's like bringing children's games to life, it's like still deadly at the same time. Like, I don't know, man. It was fire to me how they illustrated all that. How they were cutting away between the fights, but never losing context on the fact that all of these are happening at the same time, and that the story is still progressing through each one of these fights. Like, it was dope the way that they did it. Yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. It was super dope. I'm excited to see more of the results of these different fights and see what more fights they're gonna unpack and unfold or initiate. Based on this particular arc. I don't know how far they're gonna go with these fights. I don't know if they're gonna get to certain plot points in the manga. We've already had a few new fights, so it's just like I don't know if they're gonna get to certain plot points in the manga in this core, or if we're gonna have to wait for core 4 for it to all be wrapped up. But I know from here on, like I said, from here on out, once they set up everything to get to the Royal Palace, it's gonna be all hands for the rest of the duration of pretty much until like the last few episodes maybe of Bleach, probably the last episode. But hey, I'm here for it. I'm excited. I can't wait to see more. But let me know in the comments below how you felt about it. If you've watched it, if you tapped in, if you haven't, definitely put it on your watch list and tap in with Bleach 1000 Year Blood War, because they are killing it right now. They are definitely doing a thing, and man, Bleach is a big 3 for a reason, man. I keep saying that, but it's a big 3 for a reason, and I'm excited that the 1000 Year Blood War is finally being animated, bro. It's finally being animated after so many years of waiting. I'm dumb hyped. So don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to share the video. Likes and shares definitely help with pushing the video in YouTube's algorithm to different audiences. So it's very helpful to growing the community that is this channel. Another thing that's helpful is also subscribing to the channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified anytime that we drop a new video, which is every day. And never forget, man, it's FreeSoul to the show. Free. Let's get it. Also, I just want to say I got a lot of reviews coming. I got some album reviews on the way. I got some more reviews of different shows and movies that I've been watching. So stay tapped into the channel. It's going to be a lot uploading in these next few weeks. So stay tapped in. And we out.